You are watching Eerie Tales, where we narrate stories in which history and horror breathe together. If you also enjoy such mysterious, true, and terrifying tales, then subscribe now. And don't forget to hit the bell icon, because today we will take you to that place where humans are forbidden to go. Today's story is Pavegelio Island. Many secrets are buried in the depths of the sea. Some fade with time, but some wounds never heal. Between the lagoons of Venice, Italy, lies a small island, Pavegelio Island, a name that turns people pale at its mere mention. It is said that the soil here is made of bones and ash. The air still echoes with groans, and the walls of the buildings bear witness to screams that no one ever heard but felt. This is the story of an island where death has made its home, where the layers of history reveal only pain and fear. Historically, Pavegelio's story begins in 421 AD, when people from Padua and Este sought refuge here to escape barbarian invasions, such as those by Alaric the Goth and Attila the Hun. By the 9th century, its population grew, and it became an independent territory governed by a dedicated podesta. However, during the Chioggia War in 1379, fearing an attack by the Genoese, deserted for centuries. In the 16th century, it was used again. But the darkest chapter began in 1776, when the Venetian Republic turned it into a lazaretto, or quarantine station. From 1793 to 1814, it was used to inspect incoming ships and their goods. And during plague outbreaks, people were isolated here. During the Black Death, thousands of plague victims were brought here, with estimates suggesting over 160,000 deaths across centuries. Their bodies were buried in mass graves or burned, leaving layers of ash in the island's soil. By the late 18th century, so many bodies were incinerated that human remains made up over 50% of the soil, and bones are still unearthed during excavations. But this was just the beginning. In the 20th century, from 1922 to 1968, the island became a mental asylum where mentally ill patients were sent. One prominent doctor, whose name has faded from history, went insane himself and committed suicide by jumping from the bell tower in the 1930s. Locals say his spirit still haunts the tower, and patients reported seeing ghosts of plague victims. After the asylum closed, it served as a geriatric hospital until 1968. In 2014, the Italian government put it up for auction, where a businessman bid €513,000, but the deal fell through. Recently, in 2025, a civic group, Pavegelio Pertuti, was granted a 6-year concession for the northern part to transform it into a public lagoon park. However, the island remains closed to the public. The air there still carries the pain, as if souls remain trapped, and official records state that after the asylum closed, the island was fully sealed. Yet illegal intruders often disappear. You are watching Eerie Tales. Subscribe now, and don't forget to hit the bell icon, because tonight we will take you to that place where humans are forbidden to go. Today's story is Pavegelio Island. Fear was not a barrier, but a door opening to unknown mysteries. He immersed himself in books of places famous, old legends for ghost stories. Living in Venice, he had heard of Pavegelio many times. Locals whispered that the island was cursed, and death lingered there, and those who went never returned. Or if they did, the fear in their eyes remained forever. Marco researched and learned that in 1793, when the plague spread again, the entire crew of 2 ships was quarantined here, and none survived. Their ships still lie sunken near the island, and their voices are heard at night. But this warning felt like an invitation to Marco. He believed that if there was so much fear, there must be a truth hidden from the world. One evening, as the sun set, casting red and black shadows across the sky like rivers of blood, Marco decided. He rented a small, old wooden boat that creaked with the sound of water. The air turned cold, and in the distance, the island's silhouette emerged, dark and terrifying, like a monster rising from the water. The boat reached the shore. A rusted sign read, "Isola non accessibile," meaning not for the public. But Marco ignored it. He stepped out, the soil beneath his feet smelling like ash, soft and cold, as if made from the remains of thousands of bodies. Historians note that by the late 18th century, so many bodies were burned that human remains exceeded 50% of the soil, and bones still surface during digs. With every step, the ground seemed to sink, as if pulling him in. Marco took out a torch from his bag and stepped inside. All around were dilapidated hospital buildings, their walls covered in mold, rusted beds scattered on the ground unused for years. The air carried as night deepened, his torch began to flicker, though it was new. In the mist, he saw the shadow of a woman in a long gown, her neck bent, holding something that gleamed. Marco froze, his breath quickening. The woman turned slowly, her face pale and shriveled, her eyes empty sockets. Then she vanished, dissolving into the mist. But now Marco knew this place was watching him, with eyes in every corner and wall. He entered the wards, where operation tables were strapped with belts, the walls scratched with nail marks, as if someone had tried to escape, and every room echoed with distant yet clear screams. The voices didn't seem real, but pierced the heart. Its stairs broken, creaking with every step. As Marco climbed, the wind grew fierce, and suddenly a bell tolled, ton, 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 but there was no bell, only a broken frame. Then, from the window, a burning face appeared, empty eyes, dripping skin, as if charred by fire. It stared at him, and Marco felt it knew him. Fear shook his legs. He stumbled down, injuring his knee, but didn't stop. He reached the operating room. In the center was a rusted table, belts still tight as if holding an invisible body. Rusty tools hung on the walls, scalpels, drills, all appearing stained with blood. Historical documents reveal that in the 1940s, hundreds of lobotomies were performed here, many patients dying or left permanently disabled, with accusations of cruelty against doctors never proven. Suddenly, a doctor's shadow appeared, white coat, mask, and a blood-stained drill. It moved closer to Marco. The drill's hum, filling the air. The door slammed shut, and Marco screamed. That night, in the plague wards, faces emerged from the mist, thousands of screams ringing out. "We died here. Now stay with us." A woman's burned face grabbed his neck. He was about to collapse from suffocation when suddenly it all vanished. He opened his eyes, finding himself on the island's shore, but nail marks remained on his neck. People say no one ever escapes this island. Whoever comes leaves a breath, a heartbeat behind forever. And perhaps next time the bell tolls, it will call your name. But this story isn't just Marco's. It's the full truth of an island hidden for centuries. Let's delve deeper into the history that makes this place so terrifying. In the 18th century, sick passengers from ships were sent here, and most never returned. Imagine hundreds together, bodies covered in sores, coughing blood with no medicine. Doctors wore masks, but feared too. The dead were buried in mass graves, but when space ran out, they began burning bodies. Rumors say 50% of the island's soil is ash from human bones. At night, those spirits wander, seeking revenge for their deaths. Then, in the 20th century, in 1922, it became a mental hospital. A cruel leader believed madness could be cured with surgery. He experimented on patients, drilling into brains without anesthesia, driving many insane with pain. One doctor went mad himself, reportedly jumping from the tower to his death, but his spirit lingers. The asylum closed in 1968, but records show at least 4,000 patient deaths, many from unknown causes. Marco's story deepens in this context. When he reached the island, it wasn't just an adventure, it was a personal quest. As a child, his father died in a shipwreck, and Marco thought understanding death's mysteries might ease his pain. But Pavegelio showed him something else. As he moved forward, he felt the island was alive. Tree branches like hands, eyes gleaming in every bush. He entered an old ward where patient records lay, yellowed papers with names, many stained with blood. Suddenly, a whisper came, "Leave this place." Marco turned, but no one was there. He headed to the bell tower. Climbing, he felt someone behind him, breathing audible. At the top, the bell's tolling intensified, and the burning face he saw might have been that doctor's, madness in its eyes. Marco ran, falling, seeing visions of plague times, people screaming, burning. In the operating room, the doctor's shadow drew closer, the drill's noise deafening his ears. He screamed, but no sound came, as if his throat was choked. In the final horror, faces emerged in the plague ward, each telling a story. A woman who lost her child, her burned face grabbing his neck, and Marco felt infected by the plague. When he regained consciousness, he was on the shore, marked with those screams etched in his memory forever. This story reveals Pavegelio is not just a place, but a living nightmare where the past never dies, always hunting new prey. If you ever visit Venice, ask the locals. They'll tell you lights still burn there at night, and boatmen stop far away. Marco returned, but was never the same, staying awake at night, hearing the bell, saying the island calls him. Perhaps he'll return, this time forever. People say no one escapes. Whoever comes leaves a breath, a heartbeat behind. And perhaps next time the bell tolls, it will call your name. But is this just a story? No, because many tourists have vanished, never to be found. The island is closed now, but spirit